Job's done.
Hello fellow nerds, and welcome back to another video. I noticed there were a lot of differences when it comes to leveling in this expansion as opposed to other expansions, and there are also things that we need to know about our artifact weapon or weapons. So just bear in mind that there might be some spoilers in this video because most of the things I'm going to be showing is myself questing and looking at things that have to do with the expansion. So if you don't want any spoilers, turn back now, otherwise continue listening, and let's go ahead and get into it. Okay, so the first thing that you will start doing in Legion when it comes to leveling is you will be deciding what spec that you want to be leveling as, and then that will lead into your artifact weapon choice. And the reason why I bring this up is because, say if you are a shaman and you decide for your first artifact weapon you want to be for restoration, that's a really bad idea unless you plan on leveling with other people, like they're killing stuff while you're healing. Otherwise, you would want to pick a DPS spec to level as, because while you are leveling, you get artifact power to empower your artifact weapon. And if you pretty much pick a spec that you're not going to be really using, you're kind of shooting yourself in the foot, because as soon as you get up to higher levels, you're going to have an extremely hard time when it comes to questing. Yes, you can do dungeons as like a healer, but when it comes to questing, if you don't really have any friends or if you prefer solo content, you're going to want to pick a really good spec to level as soon as you get to, on your way up to 110. As soon as you are finished picking up your artifact weapon, you will be led into your class hall. And in your class hall, you will eventually find yourself coming up to something that might look kind of like a garrison table, but it's not. It really gives you an option of picking which area you would like to start at first. And the other thing about having freedom when it comes to deciding where you want to level is if you find yourself not really liking where you decided to start leveling, you can go back to your class hall and pick up another area to start questing in. I did notice that I didn't really like leveling in one area, I'm not going to say, but I decided to go to another area and I was very happy with the quest line. So if you want to do that, it is completely up to you. One major thing that I would like to stress when it comes to leveling is the mobs are going to be hitting harder and they have a lot more health than what we're really used to or what we have been used to in the past. So if you want to level with a friend, I would highly suggest doing so, like maybe a healer, a DPS, or a healer and 2 DPS to make things go a little bit quicker. And just make sure that you don't really pull any more than 2 or 3 things, otherwise you're probably going to die unless you somehow got really lucky and became a demon hunter. I did mention at the beginning of this video that you will be picking up your artifact weapon very first, and as you are leveling you will be able to pick up a secondary artifact weapon just in case you wanted to get that done. And when it comes to having a secondary artifact weapon and when it comes to really leveling, I would highly suggest against getting your artifact weapon and deciding to start empowering that second one. And I stress that pretty highly because I learned this pretty early on. I decided to start leveling as fire and I picked up frost along the way. And throughout the quests in Legion, you will be getting artifact power, and what artifact power would do is you fill up a bar to 450, excuse me, and as soon as you get that bar filled up, you can upgrade your artifact weapon a little bit more, and also you can upgrade your item level of your artifact weapon as well with certain things that you pick up along the way while questing. So say you get your artifact weapon up to 765 and then you pick up a secondary artifact weapon, it's not going to be as strong and it's going to take a little bit to actually level up the power of that artifact weapon. So I would suggest waiting until you get to max level to start empowering your second artifact weapon or whatever artifact weapon that you would choose to start empowering and giving all the extra abilities to. Speaking of artifact weapons, there are definitely some things that I wish that I knew before I started leveling with my artifact weapon. And as I mentioned just a second ago, you will be getting artifact power and as well as relics to put in your artifact weapon. And you should be very careful when it comes to these relics because, for an example, not that this exact example is in the game, But just a small example, say you get a relic that upgrades your artifact weapon by 23 item levels, but it gives you ability A, right? You might get a quest that would give you another relic in that same slot that would upgrade your weapon by 18 item levels and ability B. Now, I would choose the relic that has the plus 23 item levels and ability A over the other one, because losing item level on a weapon when it comes to leveling in Legion, that hits you very hard, and it's quite significant in the difference that it really makes on your weapon when it comes to leveling in Legion. And also, the other part of leveling is, what's awesome is some quests actually give you artifact power that does give you like talent points in your artifact weapon to help you empower your artifact weapon while you level. I never really pictured myself saying this when it comes to speaking about it, but when it comes to leveling in Legion here, you will be replacing your gear at a very low level. And as an example, I love talking numbers when it comes to this gear stuff, because it all really matters to me at the end of the day. So I was level 103 and I got a piece of 729 gear on my mage, and I was like, what? That's like my item level of my main in Warlords right now. So I'll be replacing my gear at about 104, 105 on my main, and she has heroic Hellfire Citadel gear. Now, I'm not speaking for everybody, but most everybody in the game will be replacing their gear at a very low level, and I would say that's a pretty good thing, because when it came to Warlords and Mists of Pandaria, I wasn't exactly excited about having the same gear and then getting scaled down and just doing crappy damage, because I didn't replace any of my gear or anything until I pretty much got to top level. And it's exciting because the gear that you actually get while you are leveling does really increase the damage that you do. And an example for that is I started doing about 20k DPS when I first started leveling my mage, and then at the end of it I was doing about 50 to 55k. And the mage that I was leveling, she had item level 680 gear, and then I ended at like 750, 760, maybe a little bit higher. So that's definitely something worth mentioning. So that would pretty much sum up what I wanted to mention for the leveling process in Legion. Now, the last thing that I will mention is I spoke a lot of artifact weapon and artifact weapon power and all that kind of crap. So one thing that I noticed at top level immediately is the daily missions that you can get, or daily world quests that you can get at top level. A lot of those quests will be giving you artifact power, so you will be able to start upgrading your artifact weapon pretty early, and as well as doing dungeons and raids and all that kind of crap. So there you go. Alrighty friends, that will be the end of this video, and I would just like to apologize for my voice. I have been a little bit sick the last few days, so forgive me on that. But if you have any questions about anything, or you want to leave a comment, feel free to do so, and like my video and subscribe to my channel. And of course, you all have a great day.